You're listening to Margins and Meaning with John Wilson. Margins and Meaning accepts zero responsibility for remakes, delaminations, fractures, open contact, poor scans, missing opposing, unindexed bytes, or any case that miraculously hits your inbox without a requested shade. Anything I say on this show is just my opinion. It's not gospel. It's not CE. It's not legal advice, and it definitely may induce emotional damage. Please, if you choose to listen to anything that was discussed here today, you do so at your own risk, preferably with a full night's sleep, sharp burrs, and a clinician who actually realized there is, in fact, more shades in the shade guide than just A2. Listen at your own risk. Thank you. Welcome to episode 1 of Margins and Meaning. I'm so glad you found me. I wanted to share a little bit about me. I am a technician that has been in the trade more than 40 years. I run a little laboratory in Yucaipa, California called Sunrise Dental Laboratory. We specialize in full arch dentistry. I started as an analog denture technician so many years ago, and along the way, I've picked up a few things. The reason I wanted to do this show, I think that over the years, you pick up a few tips and tricks. Hard-earned effort is something that should not be squandered, in my opinion. I think that this trade is at a crossroads in a lot of ways. We're losing a lot of the craft aspect. While digital has made me relevant, it's my analog background that has really made me successful in this trade. I think today, in the really tough times that we're going through is we're losing the whys. Everybody just wants to know how you do things. Well, I'm going to share how to do certain things, but I'm going to talk more about the whys in the life. I think that not just in our trade, but how we interact with people, all of these things matter. And that's kind of where the show started. I really wanted to give back in a way and find a way to share these things. I want to elevate the craft in a way that seems to be dwindling at this point. The real heroes in restorative dentistry are the technicians that actually care, the ones that really want to do their best, not just get that lab case out the door. I think that there's some real strong things that really influenced me along my way, and I'd like to share a couple stories. I think that this podcast is going to be very story-based, and if you resonate with the stories that I am sharing, I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you found me, and hopefully you'll see some value with it. So I'm going to start at the beginning. I walked into a laboratory, trying to find a job as a delivery driver. It turned into something that I learned on the job, like many technicians. I walked in, and after the downtime of being a driver, I started on the plaster bench and worked my way up through every little part of that denture laboratory for the first 5 years of my career. I never really thought that I was making anything of value. I enjoyed it. It was still fun. I always had a real pride of, using my hands and taking tools to create something. It was fun. I can remember the first day I was at chairside, and I want to share this story because it was really influential on why I'm still in this trade today. You see, I was called to this clinician's office. I hadn't been chairside before, but my initial boss was just a really kind-hearted man. He recognized that instilling passion is something that is not hard to do. If you see somebody that is actually proud about the things that they're doing, you should lift them up. I've always been that way in life. I think that, being kind is not difficult. It's something that I would like this world to do more of. And this is my way of sharing this little part of my life. So I'm chairside for the first time. We're delivering an upper and lower denture. I was instrumental of setting teeth on this case. And I look back on this day, And the first time I saw that patient put something that I've, fabricated in their mouth and look in the mirror and start just crying, just pure joy, just really happy at what just transpired there. To me, I was shocked with it. It really pulled on my heart. I really felt that, hey, man, there's something that I'm doing here that's actually, you know, instilling this type of emotion. And I was really drawn to it. It was something that I don't think I had felt before in life. Nothing that I was that instrumental in creating. And I've been chasing that feeling for the next 45 years or whatever it's been now. I keep losing it. I really enjoyed it when I got to 40 because it was a round number and I remembered it. But those times in my life are actually the guiding principles of why I do dentistry, why I'm involved in the things that I do, why I give back online, why I lecture. All of these things are instrumental from that first meeting in that operatory. To me, there's nothing better than making somebody happy in this life. Doing something like this and finding a way to make a living at it was, pure joy to me. I can't imagine just putting a 9 to 5 job in, doing something that you were never really happy about just to make bucks. To me, that's just a really sad existence. Life is way short. It's very difficult to not find happiness in this life. If you're not looking and seeking for happiness, I think that you're doing a disservice to yourself. This started where I consider what I call my happy place. I know it's a silly reference from a Happy Gilmore movie, but I tell you, that happy place in dentistry started with that moment. So I'm going to tell you that day, leaving that operatory and getting in the car and having my mind wander, it's different than today, glancing over at a phone and trying to stay focused on the road and doing all this stuff. I still struggled in those days, but it was a different type of struggle because in that day, something actually happened. You see, I was very dedicated. I'd get up every morning. I would go to work. I was always on time. I just respected the institution of a job. To me, it was a job. It wasn't my career. I never in those 5 years ever thought that this was something that I was going to make a life out of. But in those moments, in that operatory, something struck. It was what I call the weight of what we do as technicians. There's very often that I like to share with anybody that has been a technician for a long time. If you haven't seen your work in the mouth, if you haven't seen, the happiness and the life changing things that we do on a daily basis, you're not doing yourself any benefits. It's so amazing to be able to be connected with the actual craft. The things that we do, the power that we have to change and make happiness, right then and there, it was a complete different game change for me. And I actually started thinking, about the future. Perhaps I could open a laboratory. Perhaps I could run a business. Perhaps I could chase that feeling and be part of teams that absolutely had those same goals. 45 years later or whatever exactly it is, I still feel that way. Along the way, you have to kiss a lot of frogs to get where you're at. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Some of the most difficult clients that I've ever worked with, I've learned the most from. And I say that because as a person, you grow with every challenge. In that time, I never really understood how difficult this life would be. It wasn't roses all the time, guys. I can tell you very clearly I struggled. There was many a time that I actually thought about, giving it up and finding something else, but something always brought me back. And I like to believe that cornerstone of my career was all due to that first boss of mine. thinking that maybe I needed to have a pick-me-up. Maybe I needed to see something. And how he actually knew that, I don't know. Maybe it was just dumb luck. Maybe he didn't want to go to the operatory. I don't know. I don't know how it actually happened. I never pushed for it. But he is one of those, unsung heroes in my life. And if I had it to do over, I would love to go back and shake that gentleman's hand again, look him in the eye, and thank him for that opportunity. You see, as a kid, you don't have the wisdom that you do as an older statesman. I think that, recognizing those things in life is powerful. I want you as, listeners of this show to really embrace those types of things. When I pass something along, it's to try to maybe spur a memory for yourself. And if you have the opportunity to not have regret in this life, I think that is a pretty powerful takeaway. So unfortunately, that gentleman is passed, and I never really got to speak with him on that level. I'm not sure if he ever saw where I've actually gone to in this trade. But I'd like to think that somehow, some way along the years, and me being at a conference or lecturing or doing something, he got a glimpse of me and thought that he was the real catalyst to that person. To me, that would be just amazing. And I'm going to hope in my heart that actually happened. So now I have a path. Now I'm not just coming in the morning and going to a job. I started thinking about all of those amazing things that could happen. And I found a way to make them happen. And I think that that's a powerful statement. You just don't wait for things to happen. You go and make them happen. In those days leading up to that moment, I was just putting in reps. And while the reps are always important, they definitely weren't forming me for my future. You see, I had no passion for it. And even though I enjoyed what we were doing and I felt grateful for the opportunity to have a job, I never saw it as my future in that time frame. So after that moment, and after I had that real, cathartic feeling, and I started to make plans for the opportunity to open my own laboratory, I started to take a little spiral binder of paper and start writing down little musings that were running around in my head in those times. You see, sitting at the bench, if you don't have music going and you're just looking at the work and you're thinking about what you're doing, there's many times, at least for me, that something would rattle around in there that I wish that I had, remembered. So I started writing down little things that I was thinking about as I was going along. And I had always hoped that I was going to come up with something amazing that was going to change our trade. And, putting in your reps back in the day was, not always a real growth way to become better. Because if you're doing the wrong things over and over and you never know that you're doing it wrong, well, how do you ever get better from that? So to me, there came a time where I recognized that, just because I'm making something that resembles a denture doesn't necessarily means that it was functioning or lasting like one should. So I started to try to get better. And that's going to lead me into a segue today about the talking points of digital dentistry. I think that everybody wants to become an expert in 2 minutes. I think they want to be able to learn how the software works just so that they can get to the next case pan. Without having the analog background, I think it's exceedingly more difficult to have relevance. Yeah, you can do repetitive tasks, but AI is going to take that away from you eventually. You certainly need to have your mind's eye on things, and digital does not negate that. I think my biggest power in my life was always being able to think on my feet. I think labs have always been expected to fix everything and react on the fly to challenges. And today, I just see that that part of our industry is struggling. It's a gift. If you haven't had to rework things in your mind's eye quickly, you're not as in depth as you think you are. I've had a mantra about design and controlling it and replicating the pattern, all that stuff. But the main mantra in life is, your outcome follows intention and intention follows understanding. Both of them are related to one another in such a deep way. One without the other is difficult, right? So I'm going to try to be different in this podcast. You see, I'm not selling you anything. I'm not pandering to you. I'm giving a perspective on decades of mistakes, and the wins along the way as well. But my goal is to hopefully uplift some younger technicians that are going to really be the future of our trade. You see, this trade has given me everything in this life. I've worked very hard at it, but I feel a penance to give back. It's one of the reasons why I do all of these little things is because dentistry's been great to me. And the real truth about this podcast is going to be 100% unfiltered. It's going to be not pretentious. It's going to be story driven. This is how I share my wisdom. I think if it resonates with you, I'm glad that you're here. I think that I'm going to absolutely be able to pass on a few of those things. My goal is to keep these under 20 minutes and just be able to jump in once or twice a month to do these things. And I'm going to encourage you to do one thing. I'm going to encourage you to slow down. Take perspective on what you do on a daily basis. Find a way to ask the why questions before the how questions. And absolutely take pride in those invisible details. Those things that nobody actually know about but you, because it's the right way to do something. You see, if I can do anything in this show is to really encourage the growth of the craft. You see, that craft is starting to fade. It's not something that is the ultimate aspect of a technician's job today. I want to grow it back. I want to give meaning to it. Doesn't mean that I'm against any of the technology. I embrace that. It's been my relevance. But slow down, guys. Ask why. Take pride in the details. Make a difference. So I'm going to leave you with a closing statement, and the closing statement is this, mastery of anything in this life isn't sexy. It's actually just repetition disguised as insight. Thank you for listening.